Imagine for a second that you were handed a literal blank check to just, buy unlimited happiness.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a scenario where you have absolutely zero financial boundaries. You can buy private islands, fund endless luxury, build the greatest public works in human history, and just throw bottomless amounts of money at fixing your own internal dissatisfaction.
Right, like the ultimate thought experiment.
Exactly. Except an ancient king actually ran this exact experiment in real life, and he documented every single step.
Yeah.
And, well, his conclusion, it was a complete and utter disaster.
It really is the ultimate reality check for our modern culture, I think. Because we treat fulfillment like it's a geographical destination.
Right, like we'll eventually arrive there.
Yeah. We operate under this collective illusion that if we just acquire the right things or achieve the right status, we'll finally arrive at peace.
And that is exactly the topic of today's deep dive. We are exploring a set of sources centered around an ancient text that, honestly, it reads like a devastatingly accurate psychological takedown of modern hustle culture.
It really does.
We're unpacking Ecclesiastes chapter 2, which is traditionally written by King Solomon, alongside a detailed analytical breakdown of how this ancient wisdom applies directly to our modern lives right now.
Yeah, and our mission today is to tear down this massive real-life experiment to understand the actual mechanics of why out-achieving our problems just fails.
Yeah.
And why we face such severe emotional burnout, and, most importantly, how shifting our foundation can dramatically strengthen our trust in God and bring genuine joy.
So to really grasp the gravity of this, you have to understand the sheer staggering scale of what the author of this text actually pulled off.
Oh, absolutely. Because this isn't some philosopher sitting in a dusty room theorizing about what wealth might feel like.
Right.
He lived it. The text explicitly outlines how he tested human satisfaction at the highest possible level. I mean, he pursued pleasure in every conceivable form: mirth, laughter, wine.
It's just total excess.
Total excess. But the material accumulation is what truly boggles the mind here.
Yeah, the historical context provided in our sources is just wild. He didn't just buy a nice house. He built massive estates. He planted these sprawling vineyards, gardens, and orchards filled with literally every kind of food.
Right, he was engineering the landscape.
Yeah, he engineered entirely new pools of water just to irrigate his own personal forests. He amassed servants, massive herds of cattle, just mountains of silver and gold, the peculiar treasure of kings.
He even hired entire choirs of singers just for ambient entertainment.
Right, like a live Spotify playlist following him around.
Exactly. And he writes, whatsoever mine eyes desired, I kept not from them.
Wow. So he basically saturated his nervous system in pleasure and possessions.
He really did. If an experience existed, he bought it. And yet, after achieving a level of consumption that makes, modern billionaires look kind of frugal, we get his ruling.
And it's not a good one.
No. He surveys his entire empire of pleasure and calls it all vanity and vexation of spirit, stating there was, quote, no profit under the sun.
Let's actually translate that phrase, vexation of spirit, into modern emotional terms, because it sounds a bit archaic.
Right, a little old school.
But we all know exactly what it feels like. It's that empty, hollow feeling you get right after a massive project launches, or, that quiet dread that creeps in on a Sunday night when you realize your life hasn't magically changed despite all your hard work.
Yes.
It's the realization that the external gain didn't fix the internal void.
And that biological mechanism you're describing, that's the core issue here. It perfectly diagnoses the trap of our modern consumption culture.
How so?
Well, it comes down to hedonic adaptation.
Yeah.
Pleasure, by its very neurological nature, is a spike. It feels good in the moment because it releases dopamine.
Right, you get that rush.
Exactly. But the human brain is highly efficient. When you buy that new luxury car or go on that, elite vacation, your brain sets a completely new baseline for what feels normal.
So the car hasn't changed, but your brain's requirement for dopamine has basically increased just to feel okay.
Precisely the problem. You get the momentary spike, and then you adapt. You are right back to where you started emotionally, but now your tolerance is higher.
Wow, so you need more just to feel the same?
Yeah, you need a bigger thrill, a more expensive vacation, a larger house, just to feel anything at all. It is constant escalating stimulation with zero lasting satisfaction.
Which is why we call it the hedonic treadmill, right?
Yeah.
You just keep running faster, buying more, but you never actually move forward internally.
Exactly.
So since buying a solution completely failed for him, I guess human nature dictates we try to build one instead. Like, if consuming doesn't work, maybe producing will.
Which represents a very, very logical pivot in the text. The experiment transitions from the pursuit of having things to the pursuit of doing things.
The classic pivot to hard work.
Right. The author throws himself into monumental public works.
Yeah.
He achieves unprecedented greatness, increasing more than all who were before him in Jerusalem.
So he was the ultimate high achiever.
By every conceivable metric of his day, and certainly of ours, honestly, he won the game of life.
But then he hits a wall that absolutely paralyzes him, and that wall is mortality.
Yeah. He realizes a deeply, deeply frustrating truth. No matter how magnificent his creations are, he eventually has to die.
Right.
And the psychological torment isn't just about dying. It's about what happens to his work. He has to leave everything he spent his entire life building to the person who comes after him.
And he writes, "Who knoweth whether he shall be a wise man or a fool?"
Yeah.
Meaning, I could sacrifice my health, my time, my peace to build this magnificent empire, and the next person in charge could completely run it into the ground in a week.
That specific realization causes him to just despair. The text describes a state where he literally hates his labor. His days become sorrow, his work becomes grief, and his mind, it can't even rest at night.
Okay, wait, I have to push back gently on this, though.
Sure.
Isn't working hard and building a legacy supposed to be a fundamentally noble goal? Like, from the time we are kids, we're taught to leave our mark on the world.
Right, absolutely.
We're told that our legacy is our immortality. So are we really supposed to look at hard work as pointless?
So the source analysis is very careful to draw a distinction here. The text is absolutely not anti-success, and it isn't saying that hard work is inherently bad.
Okay, good.
What the text is aggressively dismantling is misplaced expectations. It is warning against using your work as a mechanism for salvation.
Ah, I see. So it's the expectation that the output will somehow save you from feeling empty.
Yes. That expectation is exactly what modern psychologists refer to as achievement burnout or legacy anxiety.
Legacy anxiety, I like that term.
If your entire identity is tied strictly to your output, if your intrinsic worth as a human being is dependent on your productivity, you will inevitably feel unstable.
Because you can't always be producing.
Right. Because if your foundation is your work, what happens when you fail? Or, what happens when you succeed? But realize there is always someone younger, faster, or smarter coming up right behind you.
Wow. Think about the project you are stressing over at work right now. To you listening, think about the one keeping you up at night, the one you are pouring your absolute soul into.
Yeah, that one.
This text is asking you a very uncomfortable question. If someone else takes credit for it in 5 years, or if the company pivots and scraps the project entirely, does your self-worth collapse?
And if the answer is yes, you are experiencing the exact grief Solomon described.
Yeah.
You can win every external award in your field and still feel completely exhausted and empty internally simply because your psychological foundation is incredibly fragile.
So true. And when building a legacy fails to bring peace because of mortality, I feel like the human ego naturally tries to outsmart the system.
Oh, always.
If we can't outbuild death, maybe we can outthink it. Surely being the smartest person in the room is the answer, right?
That is the final phase of his earthly experiment, actually. The text shifts to a rigorous analysis of wisdom versus folly.
Okay.
And Solomon is very clear that he does not equate the two. He acknowledges that wisdom absolutely excels folly, quoting here, as far as light excelleth darkness.
Which makes sense. He notes that the wise man has his eyes in his head, while the fool walks in darkness. Obviously, it is vastly better to see where you're going than to just stumble blindly through life.
It is undeniably the better path while you are alive. But, and here comes the devastating equalizer, he observes that ultimately one event happens to them all.
Death.
Yes, the wise man and the fool both die. And in the grand sweep of historical time, both are eventually forgotten. The great equalizer of death renders his immense, unparalleled intellect practically moot in the face of eternity.
You know, it's kind of like trying to win an incredibly complex, massive, multiplayer video game.
Okay.
You spend thousands of hours leveling up your character's intelligence, learning all the intricate lore, and maxing out every single stat.
Right.
Meanwhile, some other player just runs around the starting area doing absolutely nothing. But then, at a completely random moment, someone just unplugs the entire console.
Oh.
The screen goes black for both of you at the exact same time. It doesn't matter how high your stats were. The game is just over.
That captures the existential dread perfectly.
Oh,
The
yeah.
power gets cut for everyone, regardless of their level of intellect.
But then, and this is what trips me up, does that mean learning, growth, and wisdom are just useless? Like,
Yeah.
why even try to be wise if the console's just going to get unplugged anyway?
Well, because walking in the light is still inherently better for navigating the world. But, and this is the absolute core realization of the text wisdom is not enough.
Not enough for what?
Even the most brilliant human logic, the most advanced intellect, does not solve the deeper issue of the human condition.
Right.
It proves that trying to build your existential foundation on your own intellect will eventually hit a hard, immovable wall. You simply cannot think your way out of mortality.
Wait, okay, so if all of these earthly pursuits fail, if we can't buy our way out with pleasure, we can't work our way out through legacy, and we can't think our way out with wisdom, where is the actual meaning supposed to come from?
And this brings us to the crucial pivot of the entire deep dive. This is the moment the tone of Ecclesiastes chapter 2 shifts dramatically.
Okay.
Right at verse 24, after systematically tearing down literally every false idol of human fulfillment, Solomon finally sees the truth. He realizes that there's nothing better for a person than to eat, drink, and enjoy the good in their labor.
Which, honestly, on the surface sounds a bit like a cynical eat, drink, and be merry for tomorrow we die kind of philosophy.
It does sound like that at
But
first.
there is a massive caveat attached to it in the text, right?
A monumentally important caveat. He says, this also I saw, that it was from the hand of God. He recognizes that God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy to the good, but gives travail to the sinner who simply heaps things up to eventually leave them behind.
So how does this abstract ancient realization translate into our modern application? Like, how do we use this today?
The translation is profound. The core message here is that enjoyment is a byproduct, not a purpose.
A byproduct.
Let me repeat that, because it goes against literally everything our culture is built on. Enjoyment is a byproduct. You cannot manufacture fulfillment through the I'll be happy when trap.
Right.
You cannot hack it, you cannot buy it, and you cannot earn it through sheer brute force productivity.
Because when we do that, we are essentially demanding that our jobs or our bank accounts or our social status act as our saviors.
That's exact.
We're asking temporal things to provide a spiritual weight they were just never designed to carry.
And when those things inevitably fail to carry that weight, we crash. Our source material actually connects this ancient mechanism directly to the deep emotional burnout and the sense of aimless wandering mentioned in other texts, like Psalms 102 and 107.
What's the connection there? Like, how do those psalms explain the burnout?
So in those Psalms, you see these vivid descriptions of people wandering in the wilderness, hungry, thirsty, and their souls fainting within them.
Oh.
They are moving fast, they are expending massive amounts of energy, but they are spiritually starving because they are trying to sustain themselves on the wrong resources.
They're running on empty.
Yeah. They are relying on their own strength to find a city of habitation.
Yeah.
But the text argues that when we stop expecting our earthly outcomes to fulfill us, when we stop demanding that our labor be our salvation, a remarkable psychological shift occurs.
What happened?
We can actually just enjoy our labor and our wealth as what they are, gifts.
It's like trying to use a luxury yacht as the concrete foundation for a skyscraper.
I love that.
Right. The yacht is amazing for enjoying the water. It's a great gift. But if you drag it onto land and demand that it hold up the weight of your entire identity and existence, it will completely crush under the pressure.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. The yacht was never meant to be a foundation.
Yeah.
When you realize that joy is a gift from God, rather than something you have to somehow extract from the earth through your own agonizing hustle, it fundamentally alters your psychological baseline.
It has to. Yeah.
It takes all the crushing pressure off of you to constantly prove your worth through your output.
Wait, so the text is arguing that by caring less about the ultimate outcome of our work, we can actually enjoy the work more.
Exactly.
That feels completely counterintuitive to everything we're taught in business school.
It is totally counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But it is the secret to escaping the burnout described in those songs. You realize that you produce things, but you are not those things.
Right.
Your intrinsic worth is anchored securely in something permanent, the hand of God, not in the wildly fluctuating market of human achievement.
And that answers the biggest question we had today. How does this actually strengthen our trust and relationship with God?
It shifts your entire relationship from one of, distant observation or transactional begging to one of active daily gratitude.
Wow. Transactional begging. That's a strong phrase.
Well, it's true. If you believe you have to manufacture your own joy through hard work, you will constantly live in fear of losing what you've built.
Mm-hmm.
You will live in the exact anxiety Solomon described.
Yeah.
But if you trust that joy, wisdom, and knowledge are granted directly from the hand of God, as verse 26 states, you begin to trust the giver rather than obsessing over the gifts. Trusting God provides the stable, immovable foundation that success, pleasure, and intellect simply cannot offer.
That is so freeing. You can still go to work, you can still build an incredible business, and you can still go on a nice vacation.
Absolutely.
But your soul isn't riding on the outcome of those events. You are free to just experience them without needing them to validate your very existence.
It strips away the illusion and forces you to reevaluate your personal definition of winning. Like, are you measuring your success by an external scoreboard that will eventually be forgotten by history? Or by an internal peace that comes from a proper, unshakable foundation?
This entire deep dive has been such an incredible reality check. I mean, Ecclesiastes 2 really reaches across thousands of years and completely removes all our modern excuses.
It really does. No place to hide.
It tells us point blank, you can have absolutely everything that people in our society chase, and you will still feel like something is fundamentally missing if your foundation is wrong.
It forces us to ask why we really want the things we're hustling so hard for. What deep internal void are we hoping that next external milestone is going to fix?
So, to you listening right now, take a hard look at what you're chasing. Detach your intrinsic worth from your daily work. Let your success just be success. Don't make it your entire identity.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought that takes this ancient wisdom and kind of projects it into our immediate future.
Oh, I like this. Let's hear it.
If Solomon couldn't find meaning in unlimited wealth and boundless resources thousands of years ago, what does that mean for our modern pursuit of a, post-scarcity society through AI and advanced technology?
Oh, man.
Right. If we manage to automate all our labor and secure unlimited resources for everyone, will we finally be happy? Or will we just arrive at Solomon's exact existential crisis, but on a massive global scale?
Honestly, if the foundation is still wrong, the result will be exactly the same. We now know the results of the ultimate human experiment. We know that trying to outachieve our dissatisfaction is just a rigged game.
It is.
So the only thing left to answer is this: how will you apply this information in your life?